Hey guys, welcome back to the Lair. In today's video we will delve into the art of story development and progression in a D&D campaign. The main point of this story is to share something that recently happened in my game and to tell you guys what I learned from that situation. As always, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe and leave a comment to let the YouTube algorithms know that our videos are worth promoting. Thanks guys. I've been in plenty of games where the story comes to a standstill, and while sometimes players gain value from these situations, most players tune out. It's very easy to get bogged down with the rules and the various situations and scenarios that you throw at your players, especially if you're overwhelming yourself. But I recently had an encounter which I realised in hindsight I used to run very differently back in the day. The encounter showed me that my style of play and I guess dungeon mastering has changed, and I think it's changed for the better. Let me tell you the story. The Phoenix Company, who are my Saturday campaign, are a group of adventurers consisting of men and elves who are devout and faithful to the almighty dragon god Benederos. They are following an elven treasure map leading them deep into the Barrowmoors. The map was brought in by the party's newest companion, Griffith Regal, a half-elven warlock, and the party have made a good amount of progress. They've already passed the first point on the treasure map, which was a powerful magical tree called an elder tree by the ancients and elves who once lived on this land, and now they've arrived at a major obstacle, a wide river. It took a bit of searching up and down the riverbank, but eventually the party found a crossing point where the water was shallow enough that the party could attempt crossing. The players considered a few options before tying a rope around themselves and each other, creating a line of connected companions that would allow them to work together as they move through the water. I explained that the water was cold and the current was swift, so they'd need to each make an athletics check DC 10 in order to stay upright. The party rolled their dice and more than half of them failed, which was quite a surprise. I had run that encounter back in the day, and back in the day I ran it differently. I had the players in that group get swept downstream, and a couple of those players died. But I realised in this moment that this was one, anticlimactic, and two, it would have halted the advancement of the actual story and quest that I was running. So I had the players who did succeed on their athletics check roll a constitution save to see if they had the tenacity to pull the rest of the party to the other side of the riverbank before they ran out of all of their remaining stamina. Their rolls were unfortunately not high enough to undo the failure of the rest of the party, and so rather than heavily punishing everybody for a couple of bad rolls and leading to further consequences, I decided to narrate the party reaching the other side, but feeling absolutely exhausted from the actual crossing. I had each player roll a constitution save for one level of exhaustion, and I also had each player roll a d6 and mark it from their hit points, representative of the stamina that they lost in trying to cross. Considering that they are third level, ranging from 15 to 25 hit points, that is perhaps, 1/4 or maybe 1/6 of their hit points. What was interesting about this was that if I had done it differently, it would have brought the session to a grinding halt and would have likely made my players very unhappy. The way I did it was fast, dangerous, exciting, and it kept the story moving. My players now know how dangerous it is to cross a major river in my setting, and they will likely be more careful attempting it in the future. All in all, I think the story took maybe 10, maybe 15 minutes of the session to get through, from arriving at the river, crossing itself, to reaching the other side, which is pretty good considering that I was describing things and having the party roll checks. I'm not saying that obstacles shouldn't be dangerous or deadly. What I'm trying to say is that it's valuable to consider what you actually want from an encounter before you actually do it. Unless you're confident enough to make these decisions on the fly like I did in this situation. Although to be fair, I don't know if it was confidence. I I think it was just stupidity, really, that led to that situation. But I'm glad I handled it in the way that I did. I think one of the biggest issues for lots of dungeon masters, whether you're newer to DMing or a more experienced senior dungeon master like myself, is that we can quite easily overwhelm ourselves in situations that we or our players get ourselves into, and that can create very slow gameplay, which, feels difficult to control and move forward. The campaigns that I've always enjoyed the least are the ones that are the slowest, whether that's because of a dungeon master's inexperience, a player's inexperience, or maybe the dungeon master just loving the sound of their own voice and narrating everything for half an hour. There are many reasons, right? But it usually comes down to that. Learning how to handle these types of situations mainly comes from experience, and hopefully you gain a little bit of experience from listening to this story today. And many of us have obviously had to learn the hard way on things that we should and shouldn't do at our tables. I think there is great value in considering whether you want certain obstacles, traps, or even puzzles to have the potential to kill a player or cause a TPK. Understanding what your goal is out of an encounter or scenario is incredibly important, and it's what's going to help you avoid overwhelming yourself or any of your players when you're trying to come up with these mechanical decisions that could really make or break a party's adventure. This was obviously a shorter video today, but I hope you guys enjoyed the story. Check out some of my other videos on topics like this, I guess, if you like me in the channel. I'll see you guys next time on Loki's Lair. Until then.